Welcome back, everybody, to All About the Game. This is episode number 5 of the new podcast. And you're here on Mike Drop Sports. I'm your host, Jason, and thanks for stopping through. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about the Steelers Insider, giving some reports on biggest losers and winners of the offseason so far, what I agree with, what I don't agree with, also the stability of that offensive line for the Pittsburgh Steelers. So let's just dive right into a little bit of this. And let's talk about Steelers' first-round draft pick, Broderick Jones. Steelers insider Mark Cabali labeled this guy as a one of the biggest losers from the 2023 offseason workouts so far. And I kind of disagree with that because you really can't gauge an offensive lineman's play off of shorts and a helmet. They're shadow blocking people. They're not really blocking anybody. They're not having any type of live reps. And the only way, let's face it, the only way to gauge an offensive lineman's play is live padded reps. There's no other way to gauge it. You really can't tell anything. You may be able to see some footwork, but how does that footwork work whenever the pads are on? How do they adjust correctly whenever those pads are on? Are they able to take that bull rush? How does their footwork work then? Are they able to stop that bull rush? Are they able to identify these moves that these guys are doing? You have like a TJ Watt type guy who comes at the bull rush and then uses that swim move. Are they able to identify that and be able to block that guy out there? There's just so many variables, guys. There's so many variables. And once the pads are on, we're going to see these guys, how they work together, how they gel together, what groupings work together best. And the Steelers are going to be adjusting those throughout the preseason, throughout training camp, and till they find the right recipe. And they may have it. They've Samalu, those guys that came in, should be able to provide a big spark to this offensive line and totally revamp it for 2023. You have
Sorry,
Nick
guys,
Herbig
that was
also.
Nate
You just
Herbig,
have
not
some
Nick.
guys that have some veteran presence that came in, some guys that are in year 2 of the Matt Canada system for them. So there's definitely a few different components, a different recipe this season for that offensive line, and we're going to see how it flows. Dan Moore was given one of the biggest winners because he's worked really hard this offseason. He's definitely, you can see that his conditioning and things like that have improved. His work ethic is second to none. He's really paid attention to being able to switch over to the right side of the offensive line and play that right tackle position if needed. So, yes, he was one of the bigger winners of the offseason so far. So I do agree with that take. But however, just because Dan Moore was one of the winners of the offseason workout so far doesn't mean that you should label Broderick Jones as the biggest loser because he didn't make up any ground. And it makes no sense. It's almost like you're trying to stir the pot a little bit to create some news. And I don't like that because Broderick Jones is a young guy, very young guy, come out of college early, has limited playing time. You don't want to ruin any type of any confidence that he does have by throwing some things out into the media because these guys see it, dude. We live in a world that's just, hey, it's out there quickly. You get it within seconds of it happening. So you don't want to do that to the Broderick Jones kid. You want to be able to make sure that you give him every opportunity to prove himself this offseason, especially that we're moving towards training camp. Just a few notes about training camp, guys. Training camp opens up July 27th, I believe. No, 26th. I'm sorry. The first practice that's available to the public will be at 1:55 p.m. St. Vincent's College on July 27th. So that's not a padded practice. The first padded practice will be on August 1st, and that will be open, I believe, to the public also. I'm not 100% sure. You could go onto the Steelers website and check the training camp schedule, and it'll give you the full breakdown of when they have their Friday night light session and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to take like your family out there and things like that, which is pretty cool to go. I like to go. I like to take my kids. They have a blast trying to get autographs at the top of the hill and all that kind of stuff. So look into that if you're in the area. It's something that's fun to do. It gives you something to do here in the summertime, and you get to see how the Steelers are doing and see how these new people, the new transactions are coming along. So that was just one thing that was really bugging me was Cabali's take on biggest losers, biggest winners. He said Cam Hayward was not Cam, Connor Hayward was a big winner so far this offseason. But I do worry about Connor. I think he's a phenomenal player, and I do think he's going to contribute. But when you don't have a position in the NFL, I feel like eventually you start to struggle because being just everywhere is tough. And I hope Connor can find his role and stay in that role. Um, Switching everywhere in the world, like all through the building, might not be the best thing for him. I'm not saying that it can't work because stranger things have happened. But Connor, I think, needs to find his role this season and really stick to it. And hopefully the Steelers can utilize him in a way that he deserves to be utilized. Give his skill set that ability, that chance to shine in the games, because there's only one football and there's many skilled players on this team right now, and that can prove to be a problem sometimes too. So Connor Hayward might not take as many snaps away from that tight end position, so Gentry might still be able to get a chance, but he's on a contract that they could get rid of him right now. They could say see you bye, they could cut him. So Gentry may be expendable. We'll see how that goes, because they're not going to get rid of Darnell Washington. They spent a third-round pick on him, and he's a pretty big beast, dude. We've done some videos on that. Go check out episode 3, episode 4 of the pod that was dropped a couple days ago. That's an episode about Darnell Washington, and some of the Steeler fans throwing shade onto him so far also, like we were just talking about Broderick Jones, which I don't feel is very fair until we see these guys in some live action. So go back and watch episode 4 of All About the Game pod. It's a pretty good episode. So moving on again, the Steelers' offensive line has a chance, though, to really be gelling this season. They have the infusion of some veterans. They have some rookies. They have some young blood. And you need to keep that continuity in front of Kenny Pickett for 2023, 2024, 2025. You need to take advantage of this rookie contract that he's on, because you need to give him that continuity, that stability, to be able to be comfortable in the pocket and not be worrying about, hey man, as soon as I hit that back foot on my drop, I got to move because like people are coming. You need to give him that half second to get through his progressions into the second, third read. And that should help him be able to defeat one of his deficiencies, which is zone defense. So he has to have that extra second to be able to identify things until things start to slow down and he can start to process and he starts to get a better feel for the NFL game, to where he can anticipate throws a little bit better. So you've got to be able to have a solid group in front of him in order for him to do that. So this offensive line should be able to help him out in 2023, which is going to be the biggest thing. So this offensive line is going to be the biggest X factor of this season. We saw improvement when they went 7-2 down the stretch last season, but now there's a lot of new faces, a lot of new, hopefully schemes, a lot of new things to learn for these guys, a lot of new things not a lot of new players to get familiar with and start to gel as a group. So this offensive line has to be my biggest X factor for 2023 season, because if it doesn't go and it doesn't have stability and it doesn't gel correctly, the Steelers will be in trouble and they won't win many games. So this offensive line, it's going to come down to them. And hopefully the veteran presence of like guys like Samalu that were on the Eagles that played in a Super Bowl can calm these nerves of some of the younger guys and show them what it's like to be an NFL lineman and show them what it's like to be a professional. So we'll see how that goes. And moving on, we'll just see if the Steelers can make it work. And hopefully we cannot be so critical as Steeler fans, because this is, like I said in many episodes before, we're one of the most critical fan bases in the NFL, and probably we need to slow our roll with some of that and quit jumping the gun as fast as we do and give some of these players time to develop. Yeah, the Steelers really got to get that low offensive line, guys. It's a bothersome thing for me, and I think that it looks like it's going on the upside. But man, if it's not just right, the Steelers will be in trouble, because Kenny Pickett, I feel like, really has to have that for year 2 in his development, and it's going to make things a lot easier for him to be able to just move around, not be worried about getting his head ripped off every play. So we really got to pay attention to that, guys. It's so crazy, though, how important one position group really is to the whole team's success. Your defense should, keyword should, be able to keep you in ball games. You shouldn't have to put up 40 points a game to win. but you still have to have some stability. You can't go through a season again to where there was very limited wide receiver touchdowns. You can't do that. So they have to be able to run the football, run that play action, and do it well, control the clock, limit the possessions of other teams, which will help that defense, keep them off the field as much as possible. That way, when they're fresh, they can come in and rush the passer and rush it well, considering the defensive groupings that they should have on the edge and in the defensive backfield right now, to produce some exciting turnover type plays, some splash plays. So we'll see how that works. We did see yesterday some news coming out of Colorado and the Buffaloes program, Colorado Buffs program. Coach Deion Sanders, Coach Prime, who has a blood clot in his groin, has to go under emergency surgery today for that. So we'll see how that plays out. That seems to be scary considering he had a couple amputated toes and some bad things happen with blood clotting issues and perfusion and all that type of stuff. So to that leg area to where he wasn't getting a lot of pressure, a lot of circulation down to his toes. So that's causing him some issues down there. I'm no doctor, but you can go on one of those shows. If you look up the Buffs program, you can see the doctors talking to Prime about what's going down. But they did discover yesterday or the day before a blood clot in the groin, to which they have to take care of that and get him in surgery and see what they can do. So hopefully, well wishes to Coach Prime, and hopefully things work out for him moving forward. So that was really what I wanted to talk about, the Cabali thing, the Pittsburgh insider, I guess, whatever. I don't like that word insider. Um, but anyway, the Cabali thing, labeling people biggest losers, biggest winners. I don't really like that, especially at this time of the year. Maybe wait until the pads come on before you start labeling people and start running your jib about, hey, this is the biggest winner, biggest loser. Like, clicks ain't worth it, because especially if you're a Steelers insider, you wouldn't want to disrupt that locker room in any way and disrupt these players in any way by putting clickbait out there or anything like that. Um, just say what it is. So we'll see how it goes, guys. I know Cabali's job is to create news and report news, but that's one take. I usually like his work and support his work. I usually like it, but that one I just didn't care for. It wasn't something that I really thought was on point or needed at this juncture, this place of the off season. So we have about 5 weeks until we get to the Latrobe portion, which is training camp. We've already seen the release of Anthony Miller. So how's that wide receiver room going to play out? Deontay Johnson, will he go through 8, 9, 10 weeks, whatever he went through last year without scoring a receiving touchdown, things like that? Who's going to emerge as the wide out one? Who's going to come out of that backfield? Najee Harris and Jalen Warner. They're going to be able to run the football effectively behind that offensive line. Is Kenny Pickett going to take that jump in year 2 to really solidify his role as the franchise quarterback moving forward for the Pittsburgh Steelers? There's so many questions to be answered here in this offseason, and training camp should give us an insight and give us some views into how that's all going to work. And thank you, and we'll see you next time here on All About the Game.